worked. It worked. It worked. You were talking about going home to charge your phone, and that's what I was worried about all day. I was like, where is my phone percentage? Am I going to be good?
I know. I was like, I went to a different area and I was like, okay. And then I looked at my phone when I got off live and I'm like, this is not going to work because it's just too much good information. I know, and like, I have to make sure I'm charging. So I'm like, let me catch my breath. But I was like, this is good because I can confidently say to Cookie Miller that I got some steps and exercise in today.
You know,
So I did about it. Went up some stairs. I did the whole thing just for you, Cookie.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, truly.
But I'm so excited for this today. I really am. I'm going to get my notes up and we're going to get started because I know I have a lot of questions and I know that people are going to join in. They're going to have questions as well. So I'm just super excited for this. Okay. So if you are tuning in from Cookie's page, my name is Ashley. I'm an SEO strategist and educator, and my sole purpose is to help women entrepreneurs get seen online and help them with the marketing that's working. And today, this is part of my newest series, Amplify My Biz Live, where we dive into the stories of women entrepreneurs. We amplify their business, we speak about what they do, and really connect with them to see how it is that we can service them or utilize their services to really have a better journey in this entrepreneur life that we're living. So without any further ado, Cookie, please take it away and tell us what you do and get us started.
Okay, well, my name is Cookie Miller. So if you're joining from Ashley's page, hi, very nice to meet you. I am a weight loss coach, and the way that I got into this industry was through my own weight loss journey. So 10 years ago, actually this year, 2024, marked my 10-year fitversary of keeping 100 pounds of weight off. I know, so excited. So I hit my 10 years this year. I'm just like so amazed at how far everything has come. I struggled with my weight for as long as I can possibly remember. My earliest memory of trying to actively lose weight was the 5th grade, when I first remember actually making a concerted attempt to lose weight. So this was something that I struggled with for most of my life. And when I started losing my weight, there were a lot of people who were asking questions like, how are you doing it? What's going on? So I started putting everything on my YouTube channel, and I had like a hashtag. It was Watch Cookie Shriek. So everyone was kind of following along as I was going on this weight loss journey. And then once I got to my goal, everyone was asking questions. So I was like, you know what? Like, maybe I kind of want to do this. Maybe I can help people. I was working full time in corporate at the time. And I was also in school full time with pure craziness. But I went and I got my certification. I studied for it. I was still technically obese when I got my certification. But I was so passionate about this, and there were so many people reaching out for help that I thought, hey, maybe this is the path that I should take. Maybe this is the path that I'm destined to take. And 10 years later, I definitely feel like that was the case.
That's amazing. And just the fact that 10 years, keeping 100 pounds off, that's commendable. And then being able to take your journey and make a career, make a business model out of it to really help others that struggle with this on a daily basis. It's truly commendable. So I'm so excited to just dive in a little bit more onto how you really took it from an idea to a business, and why did you choose the target that you chose?
That's a really loaded question. That's a loaded question because it has changed over these past 10 years.
Okay.
You know, when I first got into it, I was working with any and everybody. I worked with men, I worked with women. Even for a short stint, I had a program called Cookie for Fit Kids. And it was a free program that I offered in the summer for girls who were in high school or middle school and were struggling with their weight. So I would train them for free at no cost to their parents. And this was like in the Houston area that I did this. So I went through so many like stages within business and as a coach before getting to this point. And I think that was super necessary because I kind of needed to figure out what my lane was. So in the beginning, I worked with anybody who wanted to lose weight. I worked with people outside, outdoors. If you are in the Houston area, I was right there at Memorial Park training people early in the morning, in the afternoon. So that was kind of like how it started out. Eventually I got into, well, first I went ahead and got a certification in group fitness. So then I was working at big box gyms like Square Fitness, and I was teaching classes there while also training, while also still working the full-time job, while also still in school.
Wow.
Right. So many things, juggling everything.
Yeah.
And eventually, something had to give, and it was that corporate job. It had to go. I had to fully commit and decide I'm going to do the business. So once I kind of made that switch, it really allowed me to start figuring out what my niche was, because I was making more money. I did feel like I could start to supplement my income, and therefore I didn't have to take on just any person. So I took the guys out first. I was like, these men gotta go. I love you guys, but I was like, somebody else could train these men. It just won't be me, So I was like, I only work with women now. And that was kind of like a phase that I went through. Then around 2018 was when I really started focusing on just my business full time, as opposed to what I had gotten into after I got into teaching at 24-Hour Fitness, which was corporate wellness. So again, in the Houston area, I was working at places like Shell, Chevron, Apache. These are big oil and gas companies where I was helping their employees and training their employees with, classes, also personal training. But after I did that, 2018, I decided, 2019, I was like, I really want to niche down even further. I really started to get into some mentorships that were around like hormones and, like holding fat in the belly. And I started going, like, there's so much more to this than I think, thought as I was going through my journey, because I was the person who was going to get my hormones tested and getting normal results back.
Yeah.
And so 2019, 2020 is when I switched to let me work with these ladies who have hormonal issues, who are overweight, who are, at the time I was saying like over 25. Now I've gone to over 30. And I've really found like a niche where I feel like I can support that person fully through their journey. And it's just a very rewarding experience to have finally arrived here.
Yeah, and I love this, especially as an entrepreneur. You basically just said that you had a vision, you knew what you wanted to do, but you were going through the motions of getting that clarity of what that end vision was, right? You knew you wanted to help people shrink and you wanted to help them, feel healthy, but finding what that niche was, so to speak, right? It took different trials and errors. And during that process, you were still helping others, right? So you're still doing that core. And so as an entrepreneur, sometimes we have to be willing to figure that out, but work along the way, right? Until we get to that point where like, this is it. This is my people. These are my tribe that I'm trying to service. So that way you already learned from all those other different experiences, right? They were not a waste of time. They helped you get to where you are and to really understand what it is that you want to be the expert and known for, right? And then to even shrink down even further, to really focus on that 30 plus, I would love to get into why you chose that, because our bodies in our 20s are totally different once we hit that 30 mark. And so I would love to know, like, how did you get to that point?
I want to go back to that 20s version of myself and just kind of slap her up a little bit, especially the trainer version of me, because I was the one online. Y'all can go back. It's all on my IG. I was the one saying, you just got to eat right. You just got to do this. Menopause doesn't have anything to do with it. It's not your hormones. Like, forgive me. Okay. But I went through that. And I needed to go through that and kind of have that moment. And it's funny because I see the younger girls who are in this space coming up and they're like, go hard. And I'm like, girl, you just wait. You just wait and see. So I really, like I said, I was studying with my mentor who is a functional registered dietitian, and she was just giving me so much insight about how hormones impacted us and, having an excess of estrogen and how that can cause you to have weight in your belly. And I'm like, and I was dealing with clients that I felt like I was giving them all the things to do and they weren't quite getting to their goals. So I was like, what is missing? Like, she's doing all the things and nothing is happening. So I think once I found and figured out that missing little piece, I was like, oh, this is it. And then, once you kind of get into a niche, it's really a lot of replication. I see so much of the same stuff that I could like look at someone and see, you know, that might be a sign of this, or that kind of looks like that, or I wonder, so it's a lot easier for me too, because I feel like such an expert of sorts, forever learning, obviously. But I do kind of feel that expert title of like, there are certain things that are just my lane,
Exactly.
have a lane.
Yeah.
So
I love it. And I love that you're working the lane because just because, yes, you are the expert, but you're always continuing to learn for those women that you're targeting, right? So you're not having to learn so broad, but you're niching down to like really diving into what these hormones are doing to our bodies and how to balance them, right? Understanding that connection with our daily lives and then how it turns into our weight that we're trying to, why we can't lose weight. Or even when I had the coaching call with you, there's so much insight. I was like, oh, she's asking me questions I didn't even think of yet. Like, I don't know, like it opened up your eyes to so many things that as we age gracefully, right? We get out of our 20s and we're, our bodies are changing. We don't know. We just then don't take the time to really figure that out. But having somebody like you that is the expert, is doing the research, right? And is understanding the studies and spitting that out to us in a way where we can, one, understand, but then know that we're not alone is really big. And so I appreciate that. And so one of the things I wanted to have you kind of talk to us a little bit about is like our hormones, because sometimes we might think that we have these normal hormones, like we take our vitamins every day, or we eat vegetables and all these different meals, or we're taking our shakes, like, but then we might still have some other underlining things. So can you explain to us a little bit as to maybe when we need to maybe speak to somebody like you to understand like, hey, something's not right, and to see if it is something we need to get checked when it comes to our hormones and in relations to our weight?
Yeah. So, I think that a lot of times what people miss when they go on a weight loss journey is that they're so focused on what they've heard over all the years from the diet industry as a whole. It's diet and exercise. You're just eating too much. You're just eating too many carbs. You're just not working out hard enough. And I feel like as women, we know ourselves. We know ourselves. We know our bodies. So if you're out there and you feel like I have done all the things, like I am exercising enough though, like how much more could I possibly exercise, or I am eating well, like nothing is happening. That is the point in which you need to seek out and see, is there something else going on? It's funny because I think that a lot of that too actually comes from, again, what people have seen online and what's kind of out there. And like, I know a lot of these like classes the super high intensity ones. Okay. And I'll explain this by kind of telling a story.
Okay.
I have a client who has been with me for years. She's one of my longest standing clients. And she's been in a place where she was really stuck on having to go to Orange Theory. Okay. No, Orange Theory is cool, but she was like, this is it. This is the thing for me. She's like, Cookie, forget the workout you gave me. I'm going to Orange Theory. But she just wanted to stay on my roster. She wanted to work with me. So I tried to work with her and work things through with her. And I kept saying, hey, we really need to get these labs and really need to get these labs. And for years, I have hounded her to get these labs. Very specific labs, not the standard ones that she was getting with work. So she finally went and got them. My mentor and I looked over her labs, and in 2 seconds, she knew what was wrong. She needed a supplement to support her hormones. So I didn't even at that point, again, she's my friend at this point. We've been clients for so long. I said, girl, I sent you something. Put 5 drops under your tongue. Take this a couple times a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, your period may come early. Don't worry about it. Her period did come early. She said she bled for 5 days. She had previously been bleeding for 7 days straight, heavy the whole time. Okay. She said she hadn't had a 5-day period since she was a teenager, and she didn't remember not having cramps since she was a teenager. Wow. This happened, I think, on February 27th. By March 9th, she had lost 10 pounds. This whole time, she had been going to Orange Theory, hadn't been losing weight, right? So it was a hormonal issue, that we need to address, that we just need to dig a little bit deeper. And no amount of her going to Orange Theory and no amount of her, like she says, eating like a rabbit was going to do it.
Yeah.
It until we got the hormones aligned that she actually didn't have to do anything.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And that kind of goes to tell, like, we think that certain things are normal, right? So she thinks having 7, day periods is normal. Having the cramps is just normal. That's just part of my routine, or even having certain size blood clots, right? If we're getting a little personal, that might be normal to people, but it's not. And so understanding when it's time to be like, okay, I need to get these specific type of blood work done, not just the normal ones that people do, right? Can be a little scary for people, because sometimes they don't want to face that there might be something else that we need to do, or it might just be as simple as, like you said, a supplement. So how do we know, or how do we go about knowing what type of blood work we need to really see if there's something in our hormones that's a little wacky, that's messing with our weight?
So if you go to your PCP or your primary care doctor, usually when they're running annual labs on you, they're running what's called a CBC, or a complete blood count. So this usually has like your A1C, your cholesterol, like those types of numbers that you're kind of familiar with. Yes, you do need that. But you should also get a CMP, which is a comprehensive metabolic panel. So that you're also testing to make sure that there's not anything going on maybe with your thyroid, right? That's stopping you from losing weight. You should also get your cortisol tested. Cortisol is your stress hormone. There is a caveat to that, because cortisol, you can test in blood, and the only thing is that it just gives you the cortisol reading for that exact time. So if you are going to do cortisol testing, I would recommend doing a morning test to see where your cortisol is in the morning in particular. But that's one that you should test as well. You should test your estrogen, test your progesterone, right? All of your sex hormones need to be tested. Now, the caveat to that is sometimes, especially in Western medicine, you can only get those types of labs by going to an OB. So ladies, you may have to go to an OB to get those specific hormonal panels, but you can sometimes maybe get your PCP to do it, just depending. Another caveat to that, there are so many, is that if you get your labs tested and they come back normal, don't just accept that. Especially if you've been experiencing symptoms like fatigue, if you're carrying weight in the belly, if you notice that you're waking up between 2 and 3 a.m. every night, and it's just kind of like a weird little thing going on, we need to figure out why. And maybe you need to get a second opinion. You can always come and see someone like me with my functional registered dietitian and functional nutrition coach, but you could also go out there and see maybe a naturopathic doctor who's going to look at your labs from a functional perspective instead of from the Western medicine perspective, which says if things are within this range, you're good. That's it. They don't question it. They don't go deeper. But you need to understand that if you're on the far range, higher range, or the far lower range, there could still be some things that are causing you to be symptomatic, and we still need to address your symptoms. So our perspective is always to address the symptoms. In other words, we're listening to you first and not just dismissing the symptoms that you're clearly saying that you're having. So my labs were normal too until they weren't.
Wow. And so one of the things that you were speaking about is getting these different types of labs, right? And I know sometimes with women, we get afraid to ask for things that our doctors don't already provide us. And sometimes when we ask for those tests, we might not be given like, oh no, you're fine. Like you don't need that. They don't want to necessarily readily have us do that. Do you get what I'm saying? So like, how do we go about that journey? We want to get our hormones checked. We want to get all these different tests that you just listed. But how do we go about asking the professionals for this?
This is something that we run into a lot, where sometimes there are some doctors that just won't test it. They just won't. And in those situations, we'll have my functional RD just order the test. So she can actually order labs, send your request to like a Quest diagnostic or something. And you do have to pay out of pocket. You can see if your insurance might reimburse you, or maybe you can use your HSA or something. But at least you would be able to get the labs. And just to be clear and transparent about the cost for that, I had someone run a full panel not too long ago, and it was around $300. So it is pretty pricey, but I think that it's definitely worth it to have the numbers. But in terms of if you're going to see your doctor, if you want insurance to cover it, you have to advocate for yourself. Continue to ask, hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm requiring. And if the doctor is not going to do it, then you need to ask them to notate that in your file. Will you notate on my file that you're refusing to do these labs? Sometimes that's to push them to do it.
Wow. Okay.
Another thing I think, because I love doctors, I've had so many Western medicine doctors, even on my podcast. So this is not, a slight to them, but sometimes it's on the insurance that's really causing the issue, right? If you haven't presented certain things that they can code in certain ways, then
Yeah.
it's going to be difficult for your OB or for whichever doctor you're choosing to actually go ahead and run those lab screens. So sometimes they hit you with the wait, like, haven't you been, like, it's been bothering you? So they can try to help you to get your labs, which, the system is so messed up that that's even a thing.
Yeah.
But you just have to advocate for yourself. And if that doctor is not willing to do it, find another doctor. I know it's a pain. I know you're probably used to your doctor, but you need these labs and you need to figure out what's going on with
Yeah. And they give so much information, so that it's important for us to do so. And we do have a question in here. I gotta zoom in close because I can't see. It says, so what do you recommend for postmenopausal women struggling to lose despite doing all of the things?
This may be a little bit of a controversial answer, but I really want women to start looking into HRT or hormone replacement therapy. The reason why I say that is because I understand that there's like this negative connotation when it comes to hormone replacement therapy, especially because of what we kind of learned. I feel like maybe in the 2010s, I mean, it's been out there, but for my generation, we kind of started learning it in the 2010s, which is about, if you take an estrogen replacement and how that can put you more at risk for breast cancer, especially if you have a history of it in your family. And that makes a lot of women afraid to try it. But I have seen so many postmenopausal women feel so much better once they get that hormonal level restored. When you're no longer producing that hormone, you have an imbalance, right? So you don't have enough of one hormone to be supporting the other, and you're feeling out of whack. That's why you're having the hot flashes. That's why you're maybe retaining more weight in the belly. So one is to look into that and consider it, and also know that you can do something called a Dutch test. You would have to find a provider to do it for you, but a Dutch test would be able to test your different estrogen pathways. We have 3 of them. There's not just one. And
Wow.
you can see if you're leaning more towards the pathway that is going to put you more at risk for developing some form of breast cancer. And then if that's the case for you, then yeah, completely avoid it. Secondary to that, figure out which one of your hormones for the person who is dealing with or who is postmenopausal, figure out which one of your hormones is out of balance and then address that hormone. It's going to depend for every single person. Is it that your progesterone is too low? Maybe you need to take something like a chasteberry to help with that. Is it that your estrogen is too high? Maybe you need to take something like a DIM supplement to flush out all that extra estrogen. It just kind of depends on what the actual issue is.
Yeah. And so those hormonal blood tests and that work, the hormonal tests will help for you to determine if that's the case, right? If you have high testosterone, and estrogen, and what it is, what you have to do, right? Okay. So let's say that people are watching this and they're like, okay, we are ready to kind of get our health in order. We know that we have to ask our doctor for XYZ. But we want to make sure that we have everything written down. Like, we're watching this replay, we're writing this stuff down, but we want to make sure that when we talk and we advocate for ourselves, that we are speaking from a person who understands, that we're confident in it, right? Is there something that you offer or something that we can find on your website, something that gives us that knowledge so we can be confident when we're asking for these things, so we can start advocating for ourselves, which I know a lot of women are not doing?
Yeah. If you're someone who's like, I'm really wanting to get to the bottom of this and kind of figure out what's going on, of course, I will offer for you to do something like a one-on-one coaching with me. But if you're really just trying to get to the bottom of your hormones and get like a step-by-step of what you need to do, I highly recommend doing something like a blueprint call. Blueprint call is something that we launched in November or December. It has been going incredibly well so far. And it's a 2-hour session. It's where you're going to give me everything. What is it that you're dealing with? What does your schedule look like? What is your stress like? I mean, I'm getting into all your business. What's your digestion like? How are you sleeping, right? We're going to go through all of that. You're welcome to bring labs with you. Prior to us going into the session, I will have our RD and also have the nutritional coach also look over the labs too to see if we can give you any feedback in terms of any supplements that you may be able to add. So the blueprint call is something that I recommend that folks do maybe every other month or even quarterly as a form of kind of long distance coaching. It's something that's going to kind of keep you in check, but it's also a super affordable option as opposed to doing the one-on-one coaching.
Okay, perfect. And so somebody, it's good to say if we want to get our feet wet, we know we need to handle this, right? We know we got some things going on. We try to say we're doing things and it is not working. So we want to kind of dip our toe in with you and figure it out. The blueprint would be something to get us started. And then once we see that we need more of that accountability, like how will we know when we transition from that to you as a coach on a monthly basis? Like what's the biggest difference?
Oh, there's a huge difference because our one-on-one session in the blueprint call, like I said, it's up to 2 hours. So it's very intense. It's a one-day thing. You're kind of like giving me the word vomit of everything that has gone on, and I'm throwing everything back at you, and I'm saying, do this, 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 get this test, do this supplement, do this, and then you're off. So you kind of lead with like a little bit of information overload, but at least you have a strategy, a plan, and you know like step by step what you need to do. It's more independent. One-on-one coaching is a different type of intensity in the sense that we're checking in every single week. So that where I'm asking you about your sleep, your digestion, I'm asking you about that on a weekly basis. You know, I'm asking you to fill that out on a weekly basis. It's very individualized. You're talking to me all the time. You're letting me know what's going on with you. We're having coaching calls. You have workouts that are set. You have a meal plan. So you have everything that you need. And then you also have our coaching app, which keeps everything in one place. So we can track your weight loss. So if you guys who are following me ever see like me posting different weight loss progress and all that, it's coming from the app of just keeping up with everybody. Even the pictures that you guys see that I may post to show kind of the before and afters. These are the pictures that people are taking as they go through the process, which is also all together where we can kind of be in touch with each other in one place.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your app. Let's not skip over that. So for you're like, I have everything in place for you. Okay. Like if you're the person that's like, okay, I did the whole DIY, it ain't working and you need accountability. You're not, I'm not doing a once a month call. I am on you and we're going to get it together, right? We're going to do it together. And you have this app that allows for people to really connect, right? And then show their journey. So speak a little bit about this app that you have.
Yeah, so this app is a coaching platform that several other trainers use as well. It's a big platform. And I really love it because, like I said, it enables me to be able to speak with my clients directly, like where I have everyone kind of in one place. We can direct message. We can have groups on there if we wanted to. But also it's a place where, like I said, I can monitor and measure their stats. So if there's someone who is, weight training, I want to see what the progression is of that weight training. And the app is really good at taking all the data that's input and then making us big, beautiful graphs that we can look at to kind of monitor that progress. It's also the place where I send in all of the check-ins and where they get all of their feedback. So, it's a system, I'll say, Ashley, to kind of speak to the SEO and everything that you do when you're in. It's a system that I definitely needed to have in place. And it's something that I started, I think, in 2019, around that time. So I was just a little bit ahead of the curve, like with the pandemic and all that stuff. I had just gotten it together, and then bam, we hit. So I think it was just timing, and honestly, it was just timing, girl.
That's awesome. So to be clear, the app is like a two-way street. It's something that me as a person going through the weight loss journey, I have to be accountable in inputting my information. So that way you as my coach can then analyze my information and then we can go over together, see what I need to adjust or congratulate me on some of the wins that I'm having as well. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So what would you say to those who are on the fence about their weight loss journey? Had some things in the past where they tried these different weight loss things or they're on these different detoxes and things aren't working. They want to do a coach. What are some 3 things that you can tell them, like, this is your sign. This is me telling you, like, this is what you need to do, or this is what I highly recommend that you do if you're really serious about your wellness journey?
I think people are really jaded when it comes to just weight loss, fitness, this entire industry, and rightfully so. I was definitely one of them. I even remember when I first started going to the gym, I was like, I don't want to be like these people. I'm not trying to be all caught up into this and, whatever. So one, I think that people are really jaded. Again, it's rightfully so that they are because of kind of what the industry has completely created. But if you're someone who's seeking to really make a change and you just haven't been able to figure out exactly what's going on, definitely consider getting some specialized help. I know everybody wants to go to the fun classes that they see online. I get that. I know that everybody wants to do, keto because it's the thing, or, whatever it is. I completely understand that. But if these things have not worked for you in the past, then maybe it's kind of time for us to pivot and try something totally different. And when I say totally different, I mean totally different. When I was on this journey, I found a trainer. I hired him at Gold's Gym, and this guy was the worst. He is a part of the reason why I became a trainer. I asked him what I should eat because I was so ravenously hungry after my workouts, and he's like, eat a sandwich. I was like, sir, excuse me, like, what does that mean? That was just not going to work for me, so this is totally different in the sense that it's a full package of like all the things that you can think of that you're going to need. And it's holistic. And a lot of times people think holistic means natural. And that's not actually what it means. Holistic just means that when we're thinking about what's going on with this person, why are they stuck with losing this weight? We're thinking about them as a whole person. So I'm not just saying, did you eat right? Did you exercise? I'm saying, did you sleep last night? I'm saying, what's your stress levels like? Those are the types of things that we're trying to kind of get to the bottom of. We're trying to figure out how your lifestyle may be also impacting that. And I think the lifestyle piece is what we don't get to touch on when everything is pretty surface level.
Exactly. And I appreciate that because even as, in that 30 plus community, we have a lot of things going on, right? And we need somebody to be like, okay, did you sleep? Like, ask those questions for us to really think, oh yeah, I really was stressed out this week, or I had all of these different things going on, and then being able to talk about that in aspects of our weight loss journey. And one of the things I remember that when I was speaking with you, you were like, we're gonna have some highs and lows, and that's okay, right? And that I feel is different than the coach that I have in my mind, right? Like that trainer that I have engraved in my mind of like being so rigid on me where I just want to quit, right? But your approach, and also I think I can confidently say is also because of you going through it yourself, right? So you've been through it, you've known like, okay, I don't want to do that, but this is what I am going to do, and this is going to help them better, right? And so having that accountability in that sense of that holistic, coaching, I think is amazing. So I appreciate and applaud you for that and doing it a little bit different. And so anybody who is watching this, that is, somebody said, can you hear us? Oh, okay. You can hear me. Okay, good. So anybody who is watching this and you have tried a bunch of different things and, that maybe your body is not the same as what it once, was, and we need to do something different. And one of the things that Cookie said is doing something out of the norm, right? Diving into the data, so to speak, right? In my terms, diving into the blood work, diving into those hormones, asking those questions aside from exercise and diet to really give us the sauce of what we need to do to get our lifestyle, right? It's a lifestyle. It's not just a one and done, but it's really changing our lives and really integrating it so that way we can be healthy and we can be the best version of ourselves, right? Yeah. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I wanted to comment on one thing that you said, because you had mentioned kind of like beating up on yourself or being so hard on yourself. And I try to tell clients this all the time. In fact, I just had a check-in with a client where I was telling her, because she's going, I'm so fatigued, I can't get it together, blah, blah, blah. She's already submitted her labs. We've gone over them. We see what the issues are. It's actually that there are several vitamin deficiencies, that are happening. So I'm like, did you get your vitamins? Like, what's going to get your vitamins? That's literally all you have to do, and it will start to improve. But I wanted to touch on that because a lot of the times I think ladies think, I just don't have enough willpower to do it. And that's where the beating yourself up comes from. And it's like, this is not a willpower situation. Like, you should not be having these cravings where you're ravenously hungry. Something is up, to figure out what it is. It could just be from a nutrition perspective. It could be what you're eating. You're not giving yourself enough to feel satiated. That's one thing. But the other thing, it could be insulin resistance that's causing you to have these cravings. And that insulin resistance may not necessarily reflect as pre-diabetes or even diabetes on your lab work, which is why we need to make sure that we're looking at labs a little bit closer and really kind of diving deep into what is causing those underlying issues. So, ladies, don't be too hard on yourself. It may not even be you.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate you saying that. And then also, you're a wealth of knowledge. Like, I love when you go live. I love listening to your podcast because you take something that might be a complicated concept or something that we're not used to, right? Not westernized in the medicine that we're used to. And then you break it down, the science of things, right? And when the way that you break things down, it's like, oh, that makes sense, And so for people this is the first time of hearing of all these things and they're like, oh, wow, now I need to reevaluate, but I want to learn more. Can you explain a little bit about like your podcast and about how they can gain the knowledge and kind of like stalk you a little bit, right? To gain the information that you have that you readily give out.
Yes. So you guys can keep up with me. I am at Cookie Miller here on IG. I'm also on the other app that starts with a T. I won't say it in case it triggers anything. But Cookie Miller fits there. And then you can check out our podcast, which is Worth the Wait podcast, Wait spelled WEIGHT. It is also linked in my bio, and we also have an IG page. We just wrapped our 3rd season. We need to get season 4 started. Okay, no, and ask me about it. But we got 3 seasons. You can go back and catch up.
And they're good. They're good. I know you sent me 2, and then I started scrolling and doing some other topics in there. So yeah, they're awesome. Definitely good information there. So one of the things towards one of the questions I wanted to make sure that I asked. So on more of the entrepreneur side, what would you say to help an entrepreneur that's aspiring to start this women entrepreneurship? Is there something you can help to give them some tips or some encouragement as they're trying to dive into their passion and make it into a full-time thing?
Absolutely. And you know what I'm going to say probably, but it's delegate. Delegate and let other people operate in their area of expertise. I get it. When you're starting out this journey of entrepreneurship, depending on where you're coming from, if you're coming from somewhere like me, I had to bootstrap, get it out the mud, like really, really go for it. And when you're in that position, you do have to kind of do everything yourself. You're like all over the place. But once you start to make a little bit of money, it really doesn't take as much money as people think to invest in other people and being able to delegate. So like for me, finally getting an assistant several years ago was once I got that assistant, I said, what have I been doing? Like, what have I been doing this whole time? So 1 is to delegate. And 2, for me, what has been really an anchor in my business is my faith. And even in this journey has been my faith. I think it's important, regardless of what your belief is, to be anchored to something that is bigger than you in this world in general.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, life in general is just tough, but entrepreneurship is up. It is up, down, and sometimes the highs can be really high and the lows can be really, really low. But having something that you're anchored in a place that you can constantly go back to and kind of ground yourself and reconnect, I think is a part of entrepreneurship that we don't talk about enough. So.
Yes. And I wanted to follow up with that. When you say delegating, I feel like sometimes there's maybe several reasons why people don't delegate, but I know maybe one of the top 2 would be perfectionism. Like we're afraid that the person's not going to do it the way we want to do it, or we don't have the process and systems in place so that way we can confidently kind of give them out, right? So is there anything you can kind of touch on to kind of let go of that perfectionism, and then also to know when it's time to have somebody delegate?
Yeah. It's kind of like how we met, Ashley, meeting at the Global Power Tour with Christy. Get yourself in rooms like that. Surround yourself in these rooms with other entrepreneurs who are ahead of you and who are behind you. because you can learn from both angles and you can pour into someone else that's behind you and give them the insight that they may need. And you can learn from these people who are eons away from you. Like when I think about Christy or Dr. Loren Josephs, I'm like, whoa, they are out there. Like they are doing it. They are what I aspire to get to. And I get so much insight from them. So I think it's important to have a good, solid community around you of people who are willing to pour into you. And also don't be afraid to invest in those people, because their time ain't free either, and they get here also. So like with Christy, for example, investing in going to Global Power Tour, investing in classes with you, getting ready to invest in having an SEO strategist to further help us reach these particular women that we're looking for. So I think it's really just about investment in that sense and community.
Love it. Yeah, you couldn't say about anything better. And then also taking that leap of faith, right? And knowing that that's what you need to do and just doing it, right? Having that plan, like we said in the other live, but working the plan as well. So I think that is awesome. So as we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to share with those that are watching now, that are watching the replay, how we can stay connected, just anything else that you would like to add to this interview?
I just want to say, I want the people who are new to me, and even the people who have been following me for a long time to know that this is a huge passion project for me, this whole thing. I have thought about going back into the corporate world so many times because it's tough. But I feel like God has a purpose for me to kind of be here and be impacting these women in the ways that I am. And I think it's important for people to know that. And I kind of harp on it a little bit because of my experience with a trainer that felt so dismissive. I never want anyone else to feel that way. So I just want to throw that out there. And then secondly, in terms of being able to find me, one thing I didn't mention was my YouTube channel, which was like the start of this whole internet thing. So I'm also on YouTube as Cookie Miller. You can go back and see the whole journey. You can see like my cookies corner, which are my deep, intimate little talks that I used to have. But there's a ton of information on there if you're looking for anything.
Okay, perfect. So this has been amazing. I definitely want to have you back on as I'm growing this whole podcast to really dive into certain topics, because I know we could go for hours on different topics because of the knowledge that you have and the women that, are on my side of things. Like they are the 30 plus majority, right? And we're going through these different things. We're wearing so many hats and there's so many things that go and tie into our weight loss journey or just being healthy, right? That we don't necessarily tie them all together without having the expert talk about it. So I definitely want to have you back on like, a topic based so we can really dive in so you can share more of your knowledge because you're just full of a bunch of it. And so I want to definitely be able to do that. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge, giving us a teaser. Please follow her. She is a wealth of knowledge. She is an amazing coach. You can see the testimonies. You can see the before and afters, see the journey. So that way you can make your really good decision on hiring her for your, weight loss goals and also to really have a different approach, right? If you've been trying things and it's not working, then invest into your wellness and do it with somebody like Cookie who is knowledgeable and invested in this just as much as you are. Okay. So thank you so much. And this was fun. Until the next time. Thank you, Cookie.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Ashley. Just before we leave, I want to give you your flowers and say, I truly appreciate you for having me as a guest. I think that what you're doing is incredible. I have been popping into some of the lives when I'm on my gym sessions. And I just think it's great to see women uplifting women, to see the passion that you have for this, to see your drive, what you're doing with your own entrepreneurship. And I just appreciate you so much. So
thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, girl. I'll see you later. Bye.